All the reports in esports highlight that sponsorship and advertising are the two big revenue streams. And that's been the case for the past couple of years. But if you're creating an esports project or trying to grow one, I encourage you to think about other revenue streams that you can include. In my 5-day esports business blueprint, I started to talk about 9 different revenue streams. So yes, we have the sponsorship and the advertising, but I think it's important to think about merchandise and ticketing, memberships, service products, physical products, information products, referrals. There are other ways that you can try and generate revenue for your esports projects. And I encourage you to identify 3 that would make sense for your particular project. And the reason I say this is that it diversifies your revenue a little bit, so you're not always dependent on one. And although those additional revenue streams may not be huge, if you can build them to a point where they cover your advertising costs or your hosting costs or contributions from a member of staff, then it makes it easier for you to continue building your project and your business. So let's just quickly touch on a couple of examples or scenarios here. If I take memberships, a lot of the teams are starting to put membership systems in place. You may also see them as sort of subscriptions. They are trying to offer value to their audience, but also get a recurring amount of revenue into the business. Sponsorships and advertising are often large chunks of money, whereas memberships, referral fees, information products, and things like that, you can start to build some recurring revenue, which again makes it easier for the cash flow of your project. Referrals are one that's often forgotten, but if you're building an audience around your project and you have access to that audience and the ability to communicate with them, referrals is an interesting one because it means you don't necessarily need to create something yourself. You are just positioning that in front of your audience and enabling them to buy, and you will then get a piece of that revenue. You'll get a commission payment. So referrals are an interesting way of thinking about the esports space as you're growing your audience. And in business circles, there's a line of thinking that says, for every name on your email list, you should be generating $1 of revenue per month. So as you build your list and you build your audience, you should be thinking about how you can generate additional revenue from that list and from the audience that you've created. Email is one way, directing them to memberships, directing them to information products, directing them to other people's products and services. These are a couple of ways that you can start to think differently about the business and the projects that you're creating in esports. So I want to leave you with that thought and say, yes, you may be focused on sponsorship and advertising, but don't neglect some of the other revenue opportunities that are present in esports and some of the things that we see in other business circles that we can start to incorporate into our projects and our businesses. Let me know in the comments, have you already added a couple of additional revenue streams to your project? Have you started planning them? Which ones interest you? I'd love to hear from you. Happy to answer any questions that you post against this video.